You're staring at the treadmill aisle online, wondering if you're about to drop a few $100s on something that will collect dust, or if you're finally getting a machine that will actually stick with you through the next 6 months of rain, work stress, and that ever-growing "I'll start tomorrow" habit. I get that hesitation. The last thing you want is to spend money on a piece of equipment that feels good in the showroom but ends up feeling like a white noise treadmill in your living room. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that separates the NordicTrack Commercial 1750 from a generic jogger is how it tries to fit a whole gym experience into a single, fold-up frame. The frame folds forward on a hydraulic assist, so you can actually slide it into a closet or tuck it behind a couch when you're not using it. That's a big deal if you've got a 2-bedroom apartment where every square foot matters. The footprint when unfolded is about 70 by 35 inches, which is similar to a standard treadmill. But because the deck slides under the console when you fold it, you're not left with a permanent slab taking up the whole room. Now, let's talk about the iFIT ecosystem because it's the engine that drives most of the 1750's value proposition. The console is a 16-inch touchscreen that pivots, so you can walk or run while still keeping an eye on the screen without straining your neck. The catch? All the interactive workouts, live studios, and the automatic speed/incline changes are locked behind an iFIT Pro membership that costs $39 a month. If you're the type who loves guided sessions, thinks a virtual coach will keep you honest, and you're already budgeting for a subscription service, that's fine. But if you're hoping to plug the treadmill in and just use it as a plain cardio machine, that extra monthly cost can turn a $1,800 purchase into a $2,200 commitment over a year. The screen itself is fairly responsive, and the pivot mechanism feels sturdy. I've watched a few friends set it up, and the console automatically aligns itself when you fold the deck back down, which prevents you from having to wrestle with cables or a misaligned display. When you launch an iFIT class, the Smart Adjust feature takes over. As the instructor hits a hill or sprint, the treadmill adjusts the incline and speed on its own. In practice, it works well for structured workouts because you don't have to manually crank the incline knob while you're mid-sprint. However, if you prefer to control everything yourself, you can still override the automatic changes with a tap, but the transition isn't as buttery as you might hope. There's a brief pause while the system catches up. Cushioning is another place where the 1750 tries to stand out. NordicTrack calls it Run Flex, a layered system that softens the impact on your joints without making you feel like you're jogging on a foam pad. For people who have knee issues or who alternate between walking and running, the cushioning feels noticeably gentler than a hard deck treadmill. The downside is that the cushioning adds a little extra wobble when you sprint at the top end of the speed range. If you're a serious runner who trains for 5K races and needs a rock-solid platform, you might notice that the deck isn't as locked down as a dedicated running treadmill. Speed and incline range are generous. You can go from a gentle 0-12 mph, which covers everything from a brisk walk to a solid jog, and the incline swings from a 12% uphill to a -3% decline. In real-life use, the decline feature is great for downhill training, especially if you live in a flat area and can't hit those natural descents outside. A friend of mine used the decline to mimic a hilly trail run and said it helped him keep his stride length consistent without having to buy a separate trainer. The trade-off is that the decline motor isn't as quiet as the incline motor, so you'll hear a faint whine when the treadmill is pulling you downhill. Not a deal-breaker, but something to note if you have thin walls. Who should buy the Commercial 1750? If you're a household that wants a serious cardio machine that can double as a family hub, think a parent doing a morning HIIT session while kids watch a cartoon on the same screen, or a couple alternating between treadmill intervals and yoga on the floor beside it. This treadmill fits. The fold-up design, the large interactive screen, and the incline/decline range give you the tools to vary workouts without buying separate equipment. It also makes sense for someone who already subscribes to iFIT or plans to, because you'll be unlocking the full suite of automatic adjustments and scenic routes that keep the experience fresh. Who should skip it? If you're a casual walker who just wants a place to get a few steps in while watching Netflix, the membership cost and the premium price point might feel excessive. Also, if